Hi there. Welcome to BoomerTube's podcast, the place for baby boomers to come play with your own age group. I'm Deb, and I'm your host. Before we get into today's show, I want to make sure to let you know that we would love to make your story a part of our podcast. So please visit our website for info on how to submit stories or music. If you have a unique, funny, or poignant anecdote about growing up, your teenage years, music, cars, dating, your parents, anything you think our listeners might enjoy, send it to us. We're boomers, and most of us were raised by the greatest generation, an exceptional group of people who deserve our enduring respect. And with that, here we go. Breakfast in America. No, I'm not referring to the Supertramp album from 1979. I'm talking about what we've always been told is the most important meal of the day. The 50s and 60s were a time of change and innovation in America, and this transformation extended to the breakfast tables of American families. These decades witnessed the birth of breakfast cereals, the rise of convenience foods, with families gathering around the breakfast table. Let's take a trip down memory lane to explore the breakfast rituals that defined a generation. Breakfast in the 50s and 60s was a family affair. It was a time when families came together to start the day right. If your mom was a typical stay-at-home mom, as most were, she insisted on everyone eating breakfast before leaving the house. She was on a quest to make sure the kids were fed and ready for school, and her hubby was fed or at least had his coffee before heading out the door. Orange juice and coffee were staples on every breakfast table. Remember Tang? I was obsessed with Tang. Breakfast usually included eggs with ham or bacon, often accompanied by toast, butter, and jam. The debate was always sunny side up or scrambled, an existential crisis of the 50s. Other favorites were pancakes or waffles. Even more options were cream of wheat, oatmeal, or Ovaltine.
Yes. Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Ovaltine? A crummy commercial? Son of a...
There were quicker options, too. Fruit, for example. Tim's favorite when he was a kid was buttered toast with cinnamon and sugar. If you lived in the country, say on a farm or ranch, for example, breakfast was essential. You usually started the day by doing chores before even sitting down to breakfast, because animals come first. Country moms were, and still are, insistent about getting their families out the door with a breakfast that will stick to your ribs. Remember that saying? One of my mom's favorites. A more down-home breakfast might include grits or biscuits and gravy. Then there were the ever-popular breakfast cereal. The 50s saw the dawn of the cereal revolution. Brands like Kellogg's and General Mills introduced cereals like Corn Flakes and Cheerios, along with an array of colorful, sugary choices that quickly became staples on American breakfast tables. Kids clamored for cereals like Fruit Loops, Frosted Flakes, and Cocoa Puffs, while parents marveled at the convenience.
Go for Cocoa Puffs! Go for Cocoa Puffs! Chocolatey tasting Cocoa Puffs, a part of this balanced breakfast.
And the beginning of the end as far as nutrition goes. That convenience trend extended to the introduction of pop-up toasters and the birth of Pop-Tarts in the 60s. These breakfast innovations provided a quick, warm meal for families on the go. Well, calling it a meal might be a stretch. But Pop-Tarts became an instant hit with kids, and the toaster became an essential appliance in American kitchens. As the pace of life picked up, the concept of breakfast on the go emerged. Fast food chains like McDonald's began serving up breakfast items to cater to busy families. The introduction of the Egg McMuffin in the 70s was a game changer. The breakfast table could be a battlefield. Siblings fought for the last bit of orange juice, the biggest pancake, or claiming that last piece of toast. And cell phones at the table would have never happened. That is, if you wanted to live. The morning news was delivered by the newspaper, not your Instagram feed. If you were at a farm or ranch breakfast table, your morning may have included the radio reciting the morning farm report. Did I mention that none of us wanted to get up? Oh, yeah. It always seemed so darn early. Tim said he remembers hopping out of bed thinking he was late for school, getting dressed, grabbing his toast, only to realize it was Saturday. 15 minutes of sleep lost. Oh, and the milkman. That guy was basically Santa Claus, delivering fresh milk to your doorstep. And if you were feeling fancy, you'd get creamer with a layer of cream on top. Talk about luxury. And finally, the etiquette of the 50s breakfast table. Same as dinner. Polite manners were a must. Elbows off the table, napkins on your lap, and no talking with your mouth full. The classic American breakfast rituals of the 50s and 60s were a big deal. Kids discussed their plans for the day, fathers gave life advice, and mothers offered encouragement or gave instructions. It was a time to connect before everyone ventured down into their respective worlds. A taste of nostalgia. If you've listened to our previous podcast, you know we like to showcase original music written and performed by our listeners. We play this episode's song here, then post it on our BoomerTube website, where you can download it. The name of the artist and their contact information is posted there as well. This episode, we are so excited to welcome our pal, Corey Webster. Corey, also known as the Haywire Cowboy, lives with his wife in rural Idaho, where they operate a cow-calf cattle operation known as the Haywire Ranch. Corey says he cannot honestly recall a moment when music wasn't an important part of his life. As a very young boy, he was exposed to the folk music of the early 60s, then the renaissance of great folk rock, country rock, and many amazing singer-songwriters from the 70s, which captured his heart forever. From an early age, Corey began making up songs and learning to accompany himself on guitar, banjo, harmonica, and fiddle. His earliest memory performing was playing harmonica, bass, and stage organ in a band at 14 years old. Corey has continued to perform, learn, and write songs throughout his life. He hosted the Unitarian Coffee House in Salt Lake City for several years and co-hosted a drive-time radio show on KRCL in Salt Lake for a few years in the 80s called Homegrown Utah. Corey has been a member of several folk, traditional, and old-timey bands over the years. He continues to write songs and poetry about the world around him. His goal in songwriting is to express a feeling or mood in music and words. Corey tries to capture a time and place with his songs that can then be relived and shared with others through performance. Please give a listen to Corey's song called Idaho Rising in the Dawn.
The road is calling you home. See the mountains rising, Rocky Mountain Dome, Golden Foothill Dry Farms, hedged by cedar green. You're so long for this familiar scene. When you see Idaho rising in the dawn, you will play in golden fields in the morning sun. Wild sunflowers wave along against the bluest sky. You will dance and run about in fields of rye. When you see Idaho rising in the dawn, the mighty rivers flowing through the lava quake, the Teton and Henry's Fork into the mighty Snake, the sandy bars shining Sawtooth Peak, grassy meadows calling you, unmatched beauty seek. When you see Idaho rising in the dawn, you will play in golden fields in the morning sun. Wild sunflowers wave along against the bluest sky. You will dance and run about in fields of rye. When you see Idaho rising in the dawn. Douglas fir and that piney smell, quaking aspens glow, the cottonwood and willow banks where clear waters flow, mountain valleys gently glide towards the evergreen rills, snow-capped granite shine beyond the distant hills. When you see Idaho rising in the dawn, you will play in golden fields when the morning sun. Wild sunflowers wave along across the bluest sky. You will dance and run about in the fields of rye. When you see Idaho rising in the dawn. When you see Idaho rising in the dawn.
You just heard Idaho Rising in the Dawn. A big thank you once again to Corey for sharing his music with us. We love to hear and play original music, so if you're listening and you're an artist, I hope this inspires you to send us yours. We like to keep it classic, like rock, folk, country, or the blues. But if you've got a tune representing another genre or an instrumental, we'd love to hear it. You'll find guidelines for submitting music to us at http://www.boomertube.com. Please make it a recording with a group or an instrument. Put on your best voice and let us help you showcase your work, because you never know who might be listening. And as we mentioned at the top of the program, we would love to make your story a part of our podcast. We'd love to hear from you. And if you've enjoyed our podcast, it would mean a lot if you would share it with your friends and family. Once again, the website is http://www.boomertube.com. And you can email me at boomertubedeb@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, come play with your own age group. Deb out.